I think the most important thing before, like right when you start your business, is to get a checking account for your business.
I think it's like $400. If you make $400 in a year, you have to
Is
claim
it
it.
400 now?
Yeah,
Okay.
because
Welcome to Creative Type Podcast. This is episode 11, Organizing Your Art Business for Tax Time. I'm Lori Rivera,
and I'm Jamie Haney.
and welcome to Creative Type Podcast.
Hi. All right, so
Hey,
episode 11. My goodness, they're just racking up, aren't they?
we made it past episode 10. I think I was reading somewhere that most podcasts don't make it past episode 10.
Oh, is that right? Oh, I don't
I
want to read
think
any of
so.
that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't want to read that.
I read that a
It,
long time ago when I was thinking about starting a podcast a long
yeah.
time ago.
Oh, well then congrats to us, right?
Yeah.
Well, I guess that is an accomplishment. 10 that we've been doing it since the beginning of January, and here it is the
Yeah.
mid-March. Yeah, that's
I
great. I
think
think we're
so.
yeah, let's pat ourselves on the back.
Yeah.
There's been a few times we start off really gung ho. We had what three or four episodes under our belt when we first launched, and then
Right.
we were recording like 2 and 3 episodes at a time, and
Yeah.
now and now we're like, oh shit, we got to get recorded episodes.
Yeah. Do it at the last minute.
Right? Yeah. And yeah, today we're having internet problems, so that's probably a sign that we need to plan ahead a little better.
Yeah.
My internet problems. So what have you been
Yeah.
up to this week, Lori?
Oh, not a whole lot. Just, well, actually, a lot.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, how many
Yeah.
paintings did you sell this week? You are just like the golden child this year.
This was definitely a good week for me selling art.
This
Yeah.
was.
And then I have a couple small commissions I'm working on. They're just 10 by 10 abstracts. And I'm really debating on whether or not I want to take abstract commissions that small anymore.
Oh
Not
yeah,
because I don't have like not be it's just because they're so much different than big abstracts. I think it's
right.
easier to paint bigger abstracts.
Yeah,
Small ones are just really hard for me to do.
I agree because I've painted some smaller abstracts before too. We didn't really talk about this, maybe touched on it a little bit and texted back and forth, but yeah, I agree. You get your shoulder moving. You
Yeah,
can't do that on a small painting, especially
right.
a 10 by 10. I've done some really small ones. And yeah, it's just, well, that series that I just did, those, the little like smaller than 5 by 7s actually. And
Yeah.
it was difficult to get really loose. You have to
Oh
hold your
yeah.
paintbrush really different. And yeah, I think it's just easier. And I think they have more impact when they're
Yeah.
larger,
I think so
for
too.
sure.
And I just feel like my smaller ones look so much different than my larger ones. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah,
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
because of what you were just talking about.
Yeah,
Just
and I can tell. I can when you showed it to us. Yeah, I
yeah.
can tell they're different than your big ones. Your
Yeah.
big ones do have a looser quality to them.
I think so too.
Not that the
Yeah.
small ones were bad. I liked them too. That it was just
Hmm.
different. Just like you said, it's just different.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what have you been up to?
Well, I'm trying to think. Um, well, yesterday I took my dad to get his tooth extracted, and he has to get like this thing put in it so he can put a crown on it. What is that called?
Yeah. Oh,
An
like
implant. An implant.
yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't realize that I was going to have to sit with him for the day. So I lost a painting day. And we just
Oh,
sat there and we watched a show about Leonardo da Vinci, and it was called The Lost Leonardo. And it was really good.
that sounds good.
I haven't talked to you guys about it yet, but they found this painting. These two guys found this painting on auction in New Orleans, and they bid on it and they got it, and they bought it for like $1,175 because there was a question. I guess they said the last Leonardo had been found 100 years ago, and this was probably back in the 80s, whenever this had happened, 80s or 90s. I'm not exactly sure on the timeline on
Mhm.
that. So now that's a lot longer ago, right? Well, it went from a couple people. It's kind of like a blue chip thing. They restored it. They went in uh, business with this lady who restored it. They paid her, and the problem was she restored a lot of it, but they still it was they called, I think, attributed it, which meant that they couldn't guarantee it was a Leonardo, but it was
Yeah.
like, this is most likely a Leonardo. And then at the very end, finally, there was businessmen bought it and sold it, and it ended up, and I guess this is still where it stands. Somewhere in the Middle East, this prince has it, bought it for from Christie's, I think, for $450 million.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, right.
Is that like the biggest or the highest
It was. Yeah.
sale in history?
Yes.
I
Yes.
know.
Because at that time, I think when they were selling it or auctioning off, I think 180
Yeah.
million was the highest at that point. And soon as they hit 180, you could hear the crowd go, ooh, and then it hit
Wow.
200 and everyone was just, ooh, all excited. And then it just
Yeah.
got ridiculous. It got ridiculous. It
Oh
almost
my
looked,
gosh.
it just almost seemed like a circus, like it was not real. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was just kind of, it was interesting to watch. So that's on Amazon Prime if you
Oh
want
wow.
to look
I'll have
for
to
that.
watch that.
Yeah, it's called The Lost Leonardo.
I'll have to write that down.
Something just fell and I don't know what
Oh
it was.
really? Maybe it was Juju
She's
knocking
upstairs.
something over.
Yeah, I heard her. Yeah, she's the troublemaker. I heard her upstairs, so that's not her, but
So I
something
was
just
trying to
fell
walk on
beside
your
me.
computer and stuff.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. All right, so that's basically what I've done this week. I have not been very productive this week. Oh, I did get my taxes done. That is a lie.
Yes,
Yesterday, I got
that's
my,
productive.
oh my God, here in the US, our tax date is what? The 15th of April? Is that what it
Yeah,
is
I
this
think
year?
so.
So, I mean, I'm early, but when you're getting a refund, you want to get that as soon as possible.
Yeah, right.
So, this kind of ties into what we're talking about today because what was slowing me down was my art business because I
Yeah.
had failed to keep good records last year. Once again, I have failed to keep good records. I did better, but still,
Hmm.
and now I'm saying this mid-March, I want to do a much better job for next year so I can kick these things out, in less than a day.
Yeah.
So, I've been working on these things for what,
A
weeks,
few
weeks and
weeks, at
weeks,
least a few
a few
weeks, I
weeks. Yeah,
think.
a little bit each day. I would do stuff,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's just not fun. I can tell you that it's not fun.
I don't know how you can like stop and pick up later and stop and pick up again. Like I can't remember where it like we use TurboTax and
Yeah.
even though it saves your place where you left
Mhm.
off, it's like that interruption just really interrupts my flow. It's like I have
Yeah.
to sit down and just get it done the whole,
Oh,
all
well,
at one sitting.
I love that you think I was that far along. I did not even crack open TurboTax yet because that's what I
Oh,
use too. No, no, no. I was gathering receipts, inputting them in,
I
and
see.
yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
no, I wasn't even at that point yet.
Yeah.
I was like trying to cram in a year's worth of organization into, a couple weeks.
Yeah.
So that's where I was at. So I guess that's going to lead me to the first thing that I want to say, because this to me is the very first thing. And I even have it on my calendar. It gives me an alarm. January 1st, I go out to my van and I record the mileage on there. So I have it. I take a picture of it and I even put a tag on it because I use photos for the iMac and I put
Yeah.
on their art business. So I can, because the next year I'm like, I don't know what it was,
Yeah.
and I've got about a million notebooks around here. So that's going to be my first tip. Record your mileage January 1st, because there's two different ways if you're doing your own taxes. It's so much easier if, I just pay someone to do this for me, but I would still have to gather all this information, right?
Right.
Uh, so there's two different ways you could do your taxes, and that is to have your total mileage for the year. And this is what I do. And, or you could have receipts for gas and mileage and oil changes and all that stuff. But it requires a lot more organization and staying on top of every single move that you make, as far as, especially if you don't have a dedicated vehicle. I use my van to go
Yeah.
get
Same
groceries with
here.
my dad. So, and even though that's about all I use it for, it's still, you have to keep that separate. So
Hmm.
what I do is I keep a notebook. And here's what I should do, I should say. And this is what I recommend everybody do. Keep a notebook in your car. And then as soon as you get in your car, you write down where it is you're going and uh, how long, what the mileage is to get there and why you're going. Because these are things, since I just finished my TurboTax yesterday, I know that it told me that if you were to go through an audit, that it would want to know the mileage and why you were going there. Now, that's one thing I don't do.
Yeah.
Of course, it's pretty easy to look. If I went to Michael's, I know why I'm going to Michael's, right? If I'm going
Yeah.
to Inman's Gallery, I know why I'm going there. But they do want to know why you're going there, for what reason, and the date and all that. So, and luckily, I do keep the date and where it is and the mileage.
Yeah. That's
And
a lot to
and
keep. Oh, go
it
ahead.
it is a lot to keep up with.
Yeah.
But that's why you need a notebook.
But
And
it's
now
worth
they
it.
and they do have, didn't you say that you used an app one time to do that?
There is an app. Yes,
Yeah.
I have it on my phone, and I don't remember.
Yeah.
Honestly, I am not keeping track of my
I know.
mileage this year.
There's
I
there's just
should.
too
I know I
much. There's
should.
too
I
much,
know.
isn't there? Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe
The
next year.
apps.
That'll be a goal for
Yeah.
next year.
Well, I do recommend it because I keep track of each time I input something on there. I look and see how much my refund went up to see if it was
Oh,
worth it.
yeah.
And so
Right.
now we've gotten to the point where we just take a standard deduction. I used to itemize everything, but now our house is getting to where it's almost paid off, and I think that was
Hmm.
the tipping point for us to be better off with a standard deduction. Now, at least that's what TurboTax is telling me. So
Yeah.
I used to be able to claim things like the excise tax on all the vehicles. So that was a good thing that added up. But I will say that, your home office deduction and all that and your vehicle, it did add up. It was worth it to me to do. So, I mean, I do think you should, as much as you drive around, I think you should
Yeah.
start
I
that
know. I
and
know it
start
would
it now.
benefit me.
And because
Yeah.
if it's on your calendar, that's kind of how I was doing it, because I did not keep a notebook every time I left the house, but I was good
Uh-huh.
about keeping information on my calendar of when I went. And this was my business calendar, our business calendar. And I would write on there every day what I did according to my business, what I did for the business that day. So I can go
Yeah.
back, but it's time consuming. If I had just written it down the first time, that would
And
have saved me a lot of time and
yeah.
heartache.
Yeah.
And
And
then,
I think you have written down like how many miles it is to Michael's, how many miles it is to
yeah,
Inman's, and all that
right.
stuff, right?
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right.
So it's easy to just plug that in there and,
Right. And it could be a little different for me because, it is, I live out. I live a lot further than you do. So it's
oh,
definitely
yeah.
worth it for me because I'm racking up the miles. If I go to like Michael's and back home, that's like a 52-mile round trip, I
Wow.
think.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So,
Whoa.
yeah, that adds up very fast for me. Even just to go to the post office is like a 21-mile trip, round trip,
Yeah. I
which
think
is
Michael's is probably like what, 2 or 3 miles from our house.
right. But you might be surprised that it adds
Yeah.
up. So
I'm
I
sure.
would just I would try it for a year and see if it's worth it to you.
Yeah.
I'm sure you could probably, like, this is just mid-March. You could go back to your calendars and your receipts. I use my receipts a lot too. That's what's
Mhm.
so time consuming about it. I check every single thing, my calendars, my receipts, my Square, my PayPal. I look through all that stuff to see, did I make a trip that day?
Right.
And that's how I found it. And it is a long way to do it. So that's why I recommend keeping a notebook for sure. And you could do it on your phone too. If you're more of a phone person, I'm old school. We talk about this all the time. I like to write stuff down. Of course, I got 15 notebooks, and that's no lie either. I probably have more than that. I bet I got 2 or 3 just down here in the studio. Actually, probably more than that, probably about
How do
five
you
or
keep
six.
track of all that?
Oh, well, I don't. I forget and I start a new notebook. I'm like, oh, I'll find it, a year or two later. Oh, look, I was looking for that 2 years ago.
Steal another school notebook from Asher.
Right. Right. Well, you catch them at the right time and they might be, oh my gosh, like 15 cents, 20 cents a notebook. It's only got like,
Yeah.
70 sheets in there, but still, I load up. I get just stacks when I see
Yeah.
them like that at school time. All right. So that's my mileage rant. What's your first one that you're gonna talk about?
My first one, I think the most important thing before, like right when you start your business, is to get a checking account for your business.
Yes.
Especially if you make enough to turn it in on your taxes, you have got to have a separate checking account
Right.
that,
And
that
it
you don't
doesn't,
use for personal stuff. You only
right.
use it for business.
And it doesn't take much to where I think it's like $400. If you make $400 in a year, you have to
Is
claim
it
it.
400 now?
Yeah, because it
Okay.
used to be
Yeah.
like 600. I think it's
Yeah.
$400 now. So,
Wow.
that could be a painting, one painting, and then
Right.
bam, you gotta claim it. You do not want an audit. That's like one of my biggest
Yeah.
fears. I do not want to audit. So I try to keep as good as taxes as I can. And also I want to say on that bank account, it doesn't have to be a business account because
Right.
those are kind of pricey. And if you're just starting out, you're counting all your dimes, at least I was. Um,
Yeah.
it just needs to be separate. And that's what it says in TurboTax. I'm getting all my information from TurboTax.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we should have prefaced this episode with we cannot legally give you tax advice. We're just
Right.
sharing what we do to organize our business to hopefully get our tax ducks all in a row.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're just trying to
We're not
help.
tax experts
Yeah, we are not tax
by any
experts,
means.
as you can probably already tell.
But yeah, that checking account, once you get your checking account, like every time you pay for something out of that account, keep the receipt. What I
Mhm.
do is I have a folder that I keep in my little box where I keep all my business stuff. It just says needs recorded. So I throw all my receipts in there, and at the end of every month, I record everything in Google Docs.
Oh, and Google Docs. That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm always scared of like,
Google Sheets actually
yeah.
is what it's called.
See, I'm back to old school again. I don't want Big Brother looking at my stuff. So I don't have anything online financially like
Yeah.
that. So I keep all mine and I use Open Office, which is a
Mhm.
free open source spreadsheet. Of course, I don't know what I'm doing with a spreadsheet. So I'm lucky that I could get anything down on it, but I do. And I wanted to say too that so when you keep all this, also when you're keeping receipts, keep it yearly. Don't like put 2 years
Oh
worth
yeah.
of stuff in one. You got to keep a separate folder for each year.
Right.
And the last I heard was you needed to keep your receipts, everything regarding for 7 years.
7 years. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it's 7 years.
7 years. So keep that in mind
Mm-hmm.
too. You need to have a dedicated
Yeah.
space to keep all that stuff. So you're using a shoebox? Is that what you said?
No, not a shoebox.
Oh.
I mean, that would work too, though.
Well, yeah, yeah.
Anything you can find that works for you. That's whatever works. But those little plastic bins that hold the
Okay.
hanging file folders.
Yeah.
I have one of those that has my Secretary of State stuff in it where I
Huh?
registered my business and like
Yeah.
my my tax certificate or not, what's that called, your retail merchant certificate, just
Yeah.
anything related to my business, my
Right.
receipts, all that stuff is in
Yeah.
there.
Oh, and I guess we should kind of bring that up too, because that's more of business, not so much tax. But if you haven't applied for a retail merchant's certificate, you ought to do that. I think it was only $25. And that's just a one time
Yeah, it's not
fee.
much.
No, and it just allows you to collect tax, and then they expect you to pay that tax that you collect. So
Yeah.
don't mess up with that. And you're not charging tax, you're collecting tax. So I know that when I go to shows, there's a lot of people that are surprised that I charge tax. And I have learned to tell them, I'm not charging you tax. I'm collecting what the state mandates that I collect from you for selling in the
Yeah.
state of Indiana. And I think a lot of people think you just ought to not turn that in. But if we don't turn the sales tax in,
Right.
well, if we turn in that income like we're supposed to, and we don't collect sales tax on it, then we have to pay the sales tax on it.
Yeah.
So that's not fair. So why would I want to pay sales tax for somebody I don't even know? I'm not doing it. So they're going to pay their sales tax.
Yeah.
is, is that what you do?
Yeah, I collect tax. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. Yeah. I've done
And
that from day one.
pay it
Yeah.
at the
Right.
beginning of the next year when I do my taxes.
I think
Or
it
well,
depends
actually,
on
not when I did my taxes. I think it's due by like what,
January something.
January, end of
Yeah.
January or something like that
Yeah.
to the
Right.
state. Yeah.
Yeah. And I do think once you get like big time, well, we're not big time, but I think you have to do quarterly taxes then.
Oh yeah, if you hit a
Yeah.
certain amount, I think it is
Right.
quarterly. Yeah.
I haven't
Yeah.
hit that amount yet,
Me
unfortunately.
either, but hopefully someday.
Right. Right.
Just like
Goals.
I hope I outgrow my studio someday too. I'm getting
Yes.
there, but
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
All right. So I like your little hanging file idea. Mine go in like a manila folder, and
Hmm.
I have them for all, and because I have hanging files and they just go in there. And I'll put up there,
Yeah.
I'll start out the new year. I'll have like this year, I put 2023 art biz on there, and all my receipts go in there. And then, well, I'm like you. Well, this is my goal. And the three of us, Vicky, you, and me, we've made a pact that we're going to keep each other accountable this year. So at
Right.
the end of each month, we've been telling each other, record all your stuff. So, we got to, saving those receipts is one
Yeah.
thing, but you got to input them or else
Oh
you're going to have
yeah.
all this work at the end of the year, like I did.
Exactly. Yeah.
So if you can keep that up at least monthly, if not sooner than that, go over your receipts and all your expenses and input that into your spreadsheet.
Yeah.
And then same with I'm a little more excited to record an income. So
Yeah, me
you know,
too.
I don't. Nobody has to tell me to do that. So I record that immediately.
Yeah. Yeah. And it helps also when you record your income and expenses to go ahead and categorize those in your spreadsheet if that's how
Yeah,
you're recording it.
that's
So
right.
record it as marketing or supplies or, whatever it is.
Yeah. And I found a little trick. I don't know if it's a trick or not. I think it's a trick. But what I've done TurboTax, for years and years and years. And I finally changed my spreadsheet to include the way that they want to receive it.
Oh,
Because,
yeah.
yeah, because the IRS, they want to receive these in a certain way. Like,
Yeah.
like you said, we have categories for each one with this, but also, like if you buy art materials, this is the
Hmm.
stuff that you make your art with. That'd be paint, canvas, brushes, and typically stuff that's less than $75,
Hmm.
tools and things that you would need. So, and I've done this for so long, I know what this goes to. And then things like your website hosting and your
Oh, yeah.
website and stuff like that, that goes under advertising of all things. So if
Right.
you can become familiar, and I found one time on the IRS site, but they have a list of what sample items of what goes where. I can't
Hmm.
remember where it is. I mean, you'd have to do a search and just sift through all the stuff because there's like a million. Whenever you type in something, you get a million answers, right? And then you just have to go
Right.
through and find the right one. And one time I got lucky. I probably bookmarked it at some point, but who knows where I bookmarked it at on what computer. and But anyway, that did help me. But TurboTax to me is so worth the money
Oh, yeah. It
because it
makes it
really
easy.
does. Yes, and they have all these like question marks that you can click on, and
Yeah.
it just pops up and tells you ideas. But one of the I should have brought this book down with me. I invested in a book a long time ago, and we'll leave a link in the show notes. And I'm not sure if actually the book is in print anymore. Surely it is. But he talks about art, business, and taxes, and how to, and not just taxes, but how to run your art business financially and
Hmm.
stuff.
I need that
And
book.
well, you can borrow it anytime. It's really,
Yeah.
really good. I mean, it's kind of dry reading, but it's interesting because it's your business, right? You want
Right.
first of all, you want it to be successful. And, I think it would be more successful or at least have a better chance if you're organized.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that is where my first spreadsheet came from because he gave a template, and so I have changed a little bit because I've noticed that maybe the tax rules have changed a little bit since he made the template. So, like those categories we were talking about.
Hmm.
But that was such a help for me. So I will leave that in the show notes so everyone can go and check out the book that I'm talking about. And I'm sorry, I can't even remember the name of the guy or the book, but it will definitely be in the show notes. So,
Yeah,
and
it
I'll
sounds like a
share
good
that
book.
book with
Yeah.
you. Yeah,
I'll
it
have,
is.
I'll
I
have to
mean,
get it.
and it
Yeah.
was, it's not a giant book or anything. It's a quick read.
Right.
I don't know if you can get that on the Amazon, what is that, Kindle, the Kindle book.
Right.
But I don't think it's an audio book. but it could be. I don't know. We'll have to look. All right. So what else you got?
Well, the next thing I have is that you can claim your studio space.
Oh yeah.
So my studio is in my home.
Hmm.
So I think there are two options. It's kind of like the mileage what you were talking about, Jamie.
Right.
You can
Yeah.
either do like an itemized thing where you turn in like your heating and air bill, your
Hmm.
utility bills, and all that kind of stuff, and go
Hmm.
that route. Or you can just turn in the square footage of your studio space and go that route. And that's the route I take because I don't want to mess with all the utility bills, and I think you can even do property taxes and stuff like that
Oh yeah. You
too.
don't
I
do any of
think
that? See, I do.
no,
I
I
have
just
it.
do the
I
square
want every
footage of my
dime.
studio. I'm all about like let's just get it done and get what I can,
Yeah. 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 I can understand that.
In the
So I,
future, I
so
might do
how,
that, but
yeah. Well, how do you do? So are you doing the square footage or you do the,
yeah,
you got, okay. So does
square
that,
footage.
did you come up with a percentage then?
I think all I had to do was, oh yes, I think it did ask for percentage of
Yeah.
total square footage of your, yeah.
What is your percentage of your house? Do you know?
I don't remember what percentage it is, but my studio I think is like 10 by 15.
Hmm.
So what is that?
Whatever your,
150 square feet. And our house isn't that big. I think our
yeah.
house is like 1,500 square feet. So whatever that would be,
Whatever that percentage is. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
And mine has kind of grown because I've inched into the rest of the house and I even cut myself short a little bit this year. I could have claimed more because I'm using upstairs as storage for a lot
Oh
of
yeah.
my because I've just run out of room to store, mats and mat board and stuff like that because it comes in these giant boxes and what am I going and I can't
Oh
keep it
yeah.
in the basement, because it gets wet down here. So it's upstairs, but I do the percentage as well. And mine is like 13.999% of our house.
That's quite a bit.
And it is quite a bit. And I do I have a sheet that I've made where I have each month called out, and then I have on there my utilities. So electric, a gas, and then phone, internet, trash. I think that is all that there is. Does that sound right? Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
then
think you got
the
it
the
all.
thing, uh, the weird thing is when you're itemizing that for the business, they consider phone and internet communications. So it goes in
Mm-hmm.
a separate category than when you're counting up all your heating and gas and uh, trash pickup and all that. And
Yeah.
did you know that you can also, like, if you get your house sprayed for bugs and any kind of keeping up like that, you can also claim. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, I have made the outside prettier to accommodate people coming in, and you can deduct a portion of that, like the 13.999%
Right.
in my case, uh, that can also come off. And if you have to like get a new roof, because if you're using this for your business, this is part of the home office expense. But, like
Yeah.
we said, you need to check either with an accountant or really check with the IRS. They're there. They do want to help you from what I've heard
Mm-hmm.
that if they want to see your business succeed. Because that way they can collect more tax. So don't be afraid to try to contact, someone to find out the real deal on what it is. And also, I think now I've never used an accountant myself, but I think it would really be better to hire someone that has experience dealing with artists. Because if you
Yeah.
just have a regular accountant that has no idea, they're not going to understand all the little things that we do. And just like I was asking you yesterday about the cost of goods sold, oh my God,
Oh
my
yeah.
head's just spinning on that. And because, our painting inventory, but uh, it, TurboTax has gotten a little bit better about explaining that too. And I don't think it's just as long as you claim it one way, you don't make sure you're not claiming something twice. That's the whole thing. So
Yeah.
I put it in my expenses instead of cost of goods sold, like paint and canvas and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it gets really confusing, but they have done a really good job. Oh, and another thing, that Artwork Archive I've heard is really good about helping you keep stuff for taxes, the way they organize things. Now, do you remember anything about that?
Artwork Archive?
Yeah.
No, not really. I
No?
had
Okay.
Artwork Archive at one time, just like the entry level version.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I didn't keep it real long though because I
Oh,
think
yeah.
I got it before I really needed it.
Yeah.
So, I was jumping the gun.
Yeah. Right. Right.
So
Well, we do that
I
sometimes.
was kind of just wasting my money at that point. But
Oh,
I mean,
well,
now it would be helpful, I think. But
yeah.
FOSO, what I use for my website, and you use it too.
Yeah.
Uh, I think, I mean, I just love the way they organize it's almost like a database. So, but that's another
Yeah.
topic. But,
Right.
um,
And
you know,
there's a lot of things I like about Fossil too. There's some things I
yeah,
wish they could improve, but I do really like it. I've just run into an issue with not Fossil, but I came from using WordPress and WooCommerce. So when I switched to Fossil, I had a cost, an upfront cost, and I know that's going to be a yearly cost. Well, my hosting company that I have, I still kept my WordPress site up. I'm slowly getting everything out of my WooCommerce shop and putting it in Faso, but I wanted to keep my blog because I've blogged since 2009. That's a lot of blog posts. I think
oh
I'm
yeah,
almost up to 900 blog posts.
that is
So
wow.
I was afraid to transfer all those. I don't want to lose any of them. And then also I'm worried about SEO, everything pointing to that blog. So anyway,
Mhm.
I keep hosting up on that. And I use Fast Comment. And I've used other people in the past, but so far Fast Comment has been the best that I've encountered. And they just sent me a thing. My hosting is due Monday. So I have to decide. It's like $179 to host.
Oh yeah,
I got like the plus version. It's not the worst one, but not the best one either. So and then they said in April they're raising all their prices 10%. So that's like another $30 that's going to be on there. So I have to decide, what am I do I want to spend like $500 on hosting for my website? Because
right.
FISO is going to be three something, and now this is going to be 200.
Yeah, that's quite a bit.
So yeah, yeah. So I'm like in this dilemma. What do I do? What do I do?
Yeah.
And all this stuff is marked, a portion of it comes off on your taxes too, to kind of
Yeah.
bring it back around to taxes.
Hey, I wanted to go back to when you were talking about beautifying the outside of your
Yeah.
home, like if you have a home studio.
Hmm.
So, because I was unaware of that
Oh
you
yeah,
can do that,
it's
that
in
you can
there.
write
Yeah.
off that. So, like,
Well,
let's
not the
say,
whole thing. Not the whole thing.
right,
Yeah.
like a percentage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And well, I mean, you can claim a percentage. Now, whether or not that full claim gets taken, I don't think it
Mm-hmm.
does. But that's what,
Right.
let's say I spend $100 on paint to paint the outside of the studio, okay? Or the
Uh-huh.
outside of the back of the house.
Does it have
That's
to be
part of,
where your studio is, or can it be anywhere on your house?
I think the way that it works, if your studio is in your house, it can be anywhere in your house or the outside of
Okay.
your house.
Yeah.
It's in there as the, like, beautification of that. Or if you added, like, say, steps, or stepping stones, which
Uh-huh.
I've done. So that, say I spent $100 on that, then I could take 13.99 and claim
Okay.
13.99 of it. Now, whether or not that doesn't necessarily mean 13.99 comes right off my taxes. It's probably a
Right.
percentage of that that gets marked off. That's what I've discovered, at least.
Right. Oh my gosh, there's so much we need to do to our house
It's
right now.
really, yeah, well,
Yeah. Yeah. So I did not know that.
yeah,
So
definitely look into that. And
yeah, I will.
and here's just another little kind of thing that I noticed. They said for 2023, this was this was state, no, I'm sorry, federal law for the United States. In 2023, if you update your, like, electric, to go maybe solar or some other
Uh-huh.
kind of green service, then you can get 30% off your taxes for that tax credit, which is like
Oh yeah.
because the tax credit comes right off of your taxable income. So it's much better than an expense, because your tax credit, say you would be charged on, say, if you make 100 grand a year, 100 grand, well, automatically 30% would lower. Say you got $3,000 tax credit that would lower your taxable income to 97,000.
Yeah,
So, that makes a big difference in the end.
it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we've talked a lot of boring tax stuff, but hopefully, I think that we could probably make another podcast with some more information that we would remember later about
Yeah,
this. What do
probably
you
so.
think?
I think so,
Can
yeah.
can you think of anything else right off at the top of
Uh,
your head? I think we've covered
Not
most of the
really.
stuff.
I think we got the most important
Yeah.
things,
Just
probably.
keep good records. I think I'd say
Yeah,
that is the most important thing
right.
of
Keep all your
all.
receipts.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Do we have any shout outs? We don't today, do we?
I don't think so.
No. Okay. Well, hey, if you want to get a shout out, give us a review, a written review, and leave your information enough to where we can contact you and ask if we can put your information and give you a shout out in with our show notes. And not only in our show notes, we'll say your name here on our podcast. And we would appreciate any kind of review from you. We'd be so grateful. It helps boost us up. If we get written reviews, especially, it allows people to find our podcast and we can help more people. And, I thought of an idea, Lori. I don't know. I haven't kicked this around with you yet, but I wanted to bring it up. I wonder if we could have another person on to talk with us, like a guest
Oh,
on
yeah,
Zoom, not
definitely.
like a plan, but like a listener, and have them get on Zoom with us.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. We'll have to talk about
That
that
might be a
further,
good
but I just
idea.
thought that'd be
Yeah.
kind of fun. Like if they wanted to leave a review and get on here and talk with us, even if it was
Oh,
just for
yeah.
like a 15-minute session or whatever, and they could just kick around ideas just like you and I do.
I think that's a great
I don't know.
idea.
I think that'd be
Yeah.
kind of different. I don't think that's been used. I don't think anyone
Uh,
else that I listen to at least has done that. It's not like this person has to be some kind of famous artist or anything. They could just be everyday people like me and you.
right.
And then we could just say, hey, tell us about your life. And they could just be part of our conversation because that's what we want. These are conversations between artists. And I just think that would be kind of
I think
fun.
that's a great idea. Yeah, that would
Yeah,
be
we might
fun.
try it. Yeah. And then,
Yeah.
it's not live. So if they, we may or may not use it. You know what I'm saying? Well, I wanted to bring up our pop up is this week, Thursday. If you're local, we would love, 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 love to have you come by and see us. I got our little postcard here. If you're on YouTube, you can find us live on, well, not live, but you can find the recording of us on YouTube. So come see us on YouTube and we'll have all the show notes down at the bottom. Thanks, Lori. This has been, well, I'd like to
Yeah,
say it's been
thank you.
fun, but taxes,
Yeah.
but it's those necessary evils, right?
Right.
Yeah. Oh, I want to bring up one more thing if we have a chance. I got our aprons and tote bag merchandise done today. So I wanted to be able to share that with you, but maybe I'll put that in the show notes too. So if you want to support the show, you can buy an apron and just a small amount goes to us. But it's the creative type logo, but I changed it up a little bit. It says creative artist or creative type artist, not instead of creative type podcast. So I think that's kind of fun.
Cool.
All right.
Yay.
Well, I'll see you next week then.
All right. See ya.
All right. Okay. Bye,
All
everybody.
right. Bye bye.